Hi, this is Doug Gerard, developer of iAnalyze Racing. Today we're going to cover the Track tab and go over how you can use it to figure out ways to improve your driving style and compare yourself and your best laps and worst laps. To start, we have to load some data, and so what I'd suggest you do is find a session that you have that has a number of choices for your driver's laps. What I did is I selected one session that I'm using for my map source. So I'm using my fastest lap here for my map source, and I'm using that same session over here as my reference source because it's the fastest lap that I did. And I'm grabbing a second session that I had done and just picking one of the laps out of there. In this case, I'm picking the slowest one, so there's more of a dramatic difference, so we can see some changes in how things work when we go to the Track tab. When you first go to the Track tab, it's really empty. It doesn't have anything on it other than it shows you where start finish is, and it has the track marker, the sector markers, so you know where those are. Some quick things you can do with the sector markers is if you right click on the map and select one of these sector names, you will instantly zoom into the sector, and you can kind of see where it's zoomed into. To zoom back out again, you just double click. If you want to zoom to another sector, you can click to another sector if you'd like, and it will just automatically zoom from sector to sector. This kind of can help you quickly zoom into areas you want to see without having to drag it out. And typically the sectors are fairly well defined by iRacing, so they are quite useful. Double click there to get back out again. Notice when you move the mouse along here, it will follow the track path, and it tries to get as close as it can based on where the mouse is. It tries to figure out the closest point on the track map to where your mouse is to track that. If you hover the mouse over the dotted lines, over the blue section of the dotted line, it will show you what your lap time was, what the sector time was, what the elapsed time was to that point, what it was for the reference, what it was for the data lap, and also what the difference between them is. This kind of gives you, it helps you just kind of show, well, how was I doing in that sector? Where did I gain and lose time? The rest of the page is kind of similar to the driver page, but what it has up here is the time gained lost graph. And again, the way this works is if you're in the green, that means your data source lap is faster than your reference lap. If you're in the red, your data lap is slower than your reference lap. To the right here, we have our track path, and you can do a number of things with this. You can show your reference car, so you can see the difference of where the two cars are. And as you can see, as we scroll along here, that in fact the blue car, the data reference or the data lap car, is ahead of the red car of the reference lap. And everything in iAnalyze Racing is done in terms of distance. And the reason why that is if you want to compare who's faster, showing where you are in time won't do that as well as showing you where in distance, because if you've gone farther in a shorter amount of time, you'll be farther up the racetrack, and you can get an idea of how fast of the relative relation between the two laps. And it essentially will reflect what this time gain loss plot will show you, and you can see that it gains and loses time as you move through this, and the track map will update there. Other things you can do with this particular graph is you can show the different paths that were used, and you can even shut off the map itself, so you can get an idea of the path that you actually followed for each of those individual laps. And actually, it's been requested that we add this to the main track path too. These paths are all generated the same way, using Dead Reckoning, the way we generate the track maps, but it does kind of give you an idea where things are a little bit different. And that, and the driver controls in the bottom right-hand corner, will allow you to get an idea of what you were doing, whether you're turning into early or later, or you're early apexing, late apexing, what have you. I typically don't use that. I'd like to just see my track map, and it'll automatically fill that in, although I do like to see the reference car. Below that is kind of the corner view map that I have here. You can show the reference car here as well, and you can adjust the different sizes. For example, if you want to have a more dramatic size of your of the time gained loss plot that gets put on here, you just increase the time size and it will increase that a little bit for you, and so you can see a more dramatic change there. And actually, one thing you can do is you can also change the type of graph that it is. You can either do a total time gained lost, which is what you have up here in the time gained lost plot, and that will show you the overall where you're losing time, the total, the summary of that. You can see that as we go through this, it shows where the data card was ahead, and eventually you get around to where it switches back again, and the reference card comes out ahead, and it just shows the cumulative effect. Now, one nice thing you can do is you can use the rate of time gain lost to really show you on the map where you're really losing time, so you can get an idea of like, say, for example, right here in this corner is where I really lost a lot of time to my reference lap, and that made I got through there a lot quicker on the reference lap, and really gained and lost a lot of time. And it kind of shows up as that on the as you come through here, that down the straightaway I was carrying more speed and gaining more time. And wouldn't you know it, if you look at the upper track plot here, you'll notice that that's exactly what happens. It gains a whole bunch of time, and just keep that works all the way down the straightaway. That I didn't do so well in the next corner. I lost a bunch of time there, and you can see that loss in the time gained loss plot. You can see it the lead evaporate a little bit, and the rate of change is showing you that the data card is gaining a bunch of time, which makes sense. And then as you go through, you see that carried more speed through the next corner, and that resulted in more speed down the whole straight. So that kind of is a useful thing, and you can look at that with whatever you want. The driver controls also gives you a good idea of what's happening, and it shows you what the data lap and the reference lap were doing at the same point in the racetrack. So, for example, you can see where the mouse is now, or where this position on the track, where the 12 car is indicated on the track map. You can see that the data lap and reference lap are a little bit different. They've both got the throttle all the way down. They're both in third gear, no brake, but the reference lap is turned in a little bit more. And that can kind of help you figure out, you can kind of see the different inputs that are going into the driving wheel. One of the nice things is that both the gear and the steering signal are available for other drivers. So if a driver is quicker than you, you can actually use that to try and see where he's turning in and might be getting advantage on you speed-wise. Unfortunately, you don't get throttle and brake signals with other drivers, so you can't compare that. Anyway, so now on to the main track page. On the track page, we've got this little blue option bar. You go and you hover over it, and it'll pop open the option bar, and you've got a couple of options. You can select to show a legend if you want to show a legend of what the track signals. Will turn it on, and you can also edit the signal size, and we'll edit that in a little bit. But for now, we're going to start with the brake signal. This is one of my favorite uses of this plot because it gives you a graphical representation that's really easy. You don't really need the numbers, you just need to see what's happening and where, and it really kind of gives you a good use of a good visual indication of what's going on. I just clicked select, and it popped over the brake channel over to the right hand side here, and now you have a couple of options. You'll see for the data signal, you can choose its color, and you can choose what side positive values are displayed on. And so for the data lap, it's saying display positive values to the left of the track, and the left of the track is if you're standing on the track facing in the direction of travel, the left would be your left, or the right would be your right. Now, one thing I like to do is when you make signal colors follow a scheme that you can understand and will be looking for. The signal colors for the brake signal, if you change them anywhere in the program, it'll then change it all over the program. So wherever you see the brake signal, it will be the same color, no matter what. For the brake signal, and the pattern I like to follow is I like to make the reference and the data laps the same color, but of different shades. And typically what I'll do is I'll take the data lap, make it a lighter color, make the reference lap a darker color, no matter where I go to the no matter where I go to look at data, I'll actually be able to see that. I'll bet if I see red, I know, aha, that's probably the braking signal. And if I see light red, it's a data lap signal. If it's dark red, it's a reference lap signal. So that kind of helps keep that straight. And now, right now, initially, it only shows the data lap. And if we go take a look at the track map, you can see that, all right, it's plotting the signal on the graph. It shows you exactly where on the track you started braking and how much and what the maximum was. And in fact, we can change that signal size to pump it up, if you would, so you can have even more dramatic effects. You can get an idea. I don't like to make it too terribly large because I don't like changing it that often, and on tracks that are tight and twisty and sections are really close to each other, you can get overlap and kind of lose some of that detail. So I typically, I think somewhere around here is typically pretty good, right in that area. So getting back to the map now, if I want to throw the reference signal on there, what we'll do is we'll bring back up this plot here, and it will show the brake channel still selected, and we'll go and we can either click this down arrow, which will bring up a menu, which will show you all the different choices you have, or you can just click the button itself, which will change it. And now it'll show the reference lap on the left side of the track as well. Well, that will have signals overlapping each other. It will make things a little difficult to read, so we're going to throw it on the inside of the track. And when we do that, we can kind of see where on the track in the reference lap was I braking, where in the data lap was I braking. And between that and the time gained lost plot, you can get a really good idea of where you're gaining and losing time. So, for example, at the start-finish, we're coming across start-finish, and we know that the data lap is faster because it's got the green time and all of that. And look, I started braking way too early in the in the reference lap, the dark red, in comparison. Now, having said that, I think it also set me up that I was able to carry more speed down the straight and reduce the size of the gap that the data lap had, and then come into our next braking point. You can see that I was a little bit, I kind of a little hesitant on the entrance to this corner. And if we zoom into this area, and you do that by left-clicking and then dragging to highlight a section of the track, if you zoom into it, you kind of see I got a little bit on the brake, but I got way on the brake on the reference lap. Whereas on the data lap, I just kind of put it on, stayed there, and in both parts of the corner, I did kind of dab the brake just a little bit, but a little harder on the reference lap, and tried to carry more speed through there and did a better job through this section of the track here. We also could have zoomed in again by, say, going to Sector 2, and that would have brought us into this area, so you can kind of see the area that you're looking at, and double-clicking resets the zoom. The other nice thing with the track map is that, okay, I like this plot. It shows me information I want to see, so I want to save it. So you can click Save Preset, and it'll ask you where you want to, or what you want to name it, and I'll just call it Brake. And you can click Save. Oops, apparently I had one already, but we'll say, yeah, we want to overwrite it. And so now we've got this saved. So if I ever want to come back to it, I can just select it from the list. Now we're going to clear this with the clear button. Notice it clears the preset. Come back up here. Track's empty again. We're going to come back in here, and one thing I really like to see is I like to compare where I'm shifting from one track to the next, or from one spot to the next. And what I'll do here is I'll select the gear number channels. You can do just the gear channel, and that will give you the integer value of the gear from 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it doesn't show you the detail, whereas this one will show you which gear you're in, and it'll always be at maximum size. And again, we do the same basic thing with the colors. Gear 2 looks pretty good, and we're going to make sure that that's shown on the right side for the second gear. Gear 3, it looks like we're going to make that a blue, and so we'll make the reference side a darker blue. And so that'll be for our third gear. And for fourth gear, we're going to go with orange, and we'll pick a brighter shade of orange, and we'll display that on the right side, and on reference we'll pick this darker shade of orange-ish color. And then we can go to the track map, and we can see where in which gears we were shifting and using for the different spots on the track. And you can see on the reference lap, I carried say starting from start finish. Well, we were both in what was the orange? It was fourth gear for a little bit. It's carrying a lot longer for the data lap, which will help explain some of the speed towards the end of the entering into the first corner. Anyway, you come along through here, and you can see it carrying up into second gear. I think I dropped down to. Yep, or third gear, that's plowed. And then the green is second gear. And so on the reference lap, I dropped into second gear, whereas on the data lap I didn't. Maybe that's one of the reasons I didn't carry so much speed. Both got up into fourth gear around, then down into the second gear, and then back around and third, and then back up into fourth. And so you can really get an idea just from this particular plot what gears you're in, what you're going through, taking a look at what's going on. And notice if you look at the legend, you can see it has a 0 or a 1 for what gear you're in. Here's a good spot to look at. If we do this and we look up at the legend, you can see for here gear 3 is selected for the data lap, and gear 2 is for the reference lap. So you can kind of use the legend to help you navigate what this map actually says. And we can come back here and say, hey, I like this plot too. I'm going to save that one as my gears plot. Now, when I come down to the options bar, if I want to quickly get back to my braking map, I can do that rather quickly, or if I want to get to my gears map, I can do that just as quickly and take a look at how the gears map comes out. And that, in a nutshell, is the map tab. You can see you do a lot of powerful things in it. You have a lot of choices. You have lots of signals here. Some of these don't really make sense to plot on a map. It only shows you the signals that it has collected. So you'll notice that, for example, on the gear, you have the gear samples. Let's clear this again so we can update this list. You can see it for the gear. It shows you the gear channel, or the gear signal, and we can just plot that real quickly. You can see how it's one color. You can see where the shift points are and how it varies in height as you go along. So it's not as detailed as the other ones. So it provides some information. Other signals, say for example, like if we wanted to plot fuel pressure, really doesn't tell you that much. It almost all looks the same. But picking the right signals is important, and that's why when you pick the gears, it gives you quite a lot of information from that. And anyway, so that is the track map page in a nutshell. I hope you hope you can see different ways of using it. I like just, quite frankly, you can do this. Oh, there was one more I always forget to do, is that you could add the brake and just do just brake, or if you're interested in, you want to see where the throttle application is, you can do throttle as well. And going back to our scheme, we'll make that a light green, that's a dark green, put it on the right side. And notice it's no longer the named preset because we've changed it a little bit. And so what we'll save this one as is controls, for driver controls, and that will save it out, and you can kind of get an idea of where you were on the throttle and brake and how you're going through, and whether you were I tend to dabble in the corners a little bit instead of getting on the throttle and getting off the throttle and staying on it till the next time you can pick up. But you can see that you can get an idea of what's different between the two laps. So if you have two laps that are really close, but then you notice, hey, say for example in an area like here, hey, I'm picking up the throttle on the reference lap a lot quicker here. I bet you that's making a difference, and it may or may not, one way or the other, depending on your situation. But that's the track map explained. If you have any questions, please, as always, get in touch with me. More than happy to answer your questions, and I can be reached at support@jackalopetechnologies.com, or you can go to the web page and you can go to the support tab and just ask a question there, and it'll send it to me as well. Thank you very much.